I'm Dr. Terry James Gingras, and this is Dr. G's ADHD Chat. This is a show dedicated to making the world safe for ADHDers. Okay, as I have told you numerous times, but if this is your first time, I'm a clinical neuropsychologist. I'm in private practice. I spend easy half of my time doing ADHD evaluations, treatments, recommendations, so on for children and adults. I'm also the father of an ADHD, well, he used to be a child, now he's an adult. I came into ADHD almost 40 years ago when we didn't know anything. And I say that both personally and for the whole field of psychology. I know there were probably some people out there who were really working hard on learning and understanding ADHD, but mainstream treatments and, mainstream training did not really do much of anything about ADHD. We didn't have really good evaluation techniques. We didn't have really good treatment techniques, for that matter, except for the standard stimulants that were started to be used with ADHD in 1937. So there was a lot of experience with that, but a lot of people didn't really know what they were doing with it, and a lot of times they would over-prescribe. That was give too high a dosage, which seemed to be resulting in a lot of kids being kind of gorked out. And I mean, that's just a medication error. You know, the trickiest part of medicating is titrating, is getting to the right dosage. And that's a by guess and by gory sort of procedure, you know. Oh, is this enough? Oh, no, that's not working. A little bit more. Oh, is that working? Oh, a little, you know. Doesn't sound terribly scientific, but it's the best we've got for doing that. You can't just look at somebody and say, oh yeah, he needs 20 milligrams. It doesn't work that way. So that's a whole lot of the stuff about background about ADHD, but I want to talk a little bit about last time we talked about ADHD and how to handle your kiddos when you're staying at home for the holidays and people are visiting and so on. This week I want to talk a little bit about travel, because traveling with an ADHD kid can be a joy and a delight in somewhat sarcastic and cynical terms. And pretty much there are a couple of things that most people are going to be when they travel. You know, you're going to visit mom and dad or your sister or your brother or something. You're going to travel, typically you're either going to go by car or airplane. And some subset of y'all are going to be on trains or buses. But in America, we don't do trains as well as a lot of other countries do. So that's probably not a real big percentage of the people going. And so we'll start with car. Everybody travels by car to some extent, to some places. The trick with traveling with an ADHD kid is you're probably going to be traveling farther to get to grandma's house, say. And as a result, you've got a whole bunch of time in the car. And I'm going to assume that not everybody has the car headrest video player. If you do, you're probably home free. You just stick in a video that they like, and you probably got an hour or two without much of a problem. Back when I was a dad, I guess I'm still a dad technically, but when I had actual little kids running around, we didn't have all that. We had the back seat, and in our case, we had 3 kids in the back seat, taking turns on who was going to hit who and so on. But so you you got to plan ahead. I mean, you can't. I mean, the whole thing, my whole notion about having an ADHD kid is you can't just sort of wing it like you can with a neurotypical kid. You know, you can just kind of not plan ahead and just, things will happen, but you can handle it. An ADHDer, you get them off, off track. It's hard to get them back on. So you really owe it to yourself to do some planning ahead. And what do you want the travel experience to be like for your kiddo? Because, the other thing is your child is unique. Your child has an interest pattern that's different from other kids, even other kids with ADHD. A lot of them do, but not all ADHD kids love video games. But Lord, if they do, by all means, video games. What you're trying to do is survive the trip with everybody feeling pretty good about things. So keeping them active with video games even. I mean, and video games are, I think when they first came out, everybody sort of treated them like it was pinball or something, and you're just wasting your time, playing video games, and it was going to cause you problems, and later on in life it wasn't a meaningful exercise. Increasingly, we're finding out that there are a lot of benefits of playing video games, and that so I think kind of weird things like surgeons who play video games typically do better surgery than surgeons that don't play video games. I have no idea why, but I know that nowadays there are universities that have e-game teams, and these are players on these teams are on scholarship, and they are playing video games representing their university. And also that there are tournaments out there for e-gamers, and each company that produces video games has their own teams, and you play for a lot of money. I mean, I don't watch these kind of things very often, but I was surfing through the channels, and there was one contest where these two guys were playing for, I believe it was $10.3 million. Wow. I mean, I was impressed. And unfortunately, I think I'm a little past my prime as far as being able to pick up video games and do them well. But anyway, so you want to do something that keeps your kiddo occupied, hopefully in a reasonably positive way, and it depends on your child. Video game, sure, why not? Get them an upgrade, let them play in the back seat of the car. If that's what they do. I mean, some kids with ADHD are readers, so get them a new book. It's something different. There are lots of interesting children's books out there. So grab that. I mean, when I was a kid, my mother used to give each one of us a little bag before a trip, and there were typically some toys, some games, and some food, some snacks, kind of things. And basically, that's a good procedure to follow. Make sure they've got something to look forward to at the start of each trip, and don't worry about if it's a bribe or not. Just enjoy it. So, like I said, something to entertain themselves with, something to eat, and maybe something just for pure joy of the thing. And like I said, it depends on your child, what they really like, and that sort of thing. But you want to make sure that they've, whether you're on a plane or you're in a car, they've got something to do that entertains them. And a lot of times in airplanes, you know, if you're going far enough, you'll have seat back entertainment, and you know, you can find them an appropriate movie or something to watch while they're traveling. The, you know, trains, not so much, or buses, you know, you're on your own. Whatever they can fit on their iPad or whatever you've bought them is what they're going to have to go with. And so when you're driving, one of the things you want to do is make sure you make some stops periodically. You know, and I know this will drive all of us who like to get to where we're going as fast as we can and get the misery over with, but you want to let your kiddo have some time to get out and move around and stretch and maybe run around a little bit, chase something, you know, play catch, kick a ball, dip, but, you know, get a little bit of exercise. And they probably will tolerate the rest of the next phase of the trip pretty well. I mean, I wouldn't expect them to be able to go all of 4 hours without taking a break. You know, a couple of hours probably is about right. And the next thing is the snacks. Snacks you got to watch out for. Okay, you want to get some that at a minimum aren't real high in sugar. Because if you get a bunch of ADHDers or neurotypicals for that matter, all jacked up on sugar, it's not going to be pleasant. Stuff's going to happen, and you really, really don't need that. So you want reasonably healthy snacks, you know, fruits and veggies kind of thing. If you can find some high protein snacks, go for it. But you don't want to fill them up with candy bars and Hershey's Kisses and that sort of thing, because you probably won't like what happens in the backseat of your car. Okay, but we've talked before about ADHDers and low blood sugar, and they really, really don't do well. You know, low blood sugar happens typically, well, either you haven't put any calories in a long time, like first thing in the morning, or the kind of calories you put in are real high in sugar. You know, you've given them one of these super sugary cereals or a Pop-Tart or something like that, and their blood sugar goes shooting way up, and then their body responds and their blood sugar goes shooting way down. Either case, either with high blood sugar or low blood sugar, they're going to be uncomfortable and edgy, and that's not an enjoyable state for you when your kiddo's like that. So make sure that what you do for snacks and stuff is something that will keep their blood sugar in the normal range. There are a lot of some of these power bars and that sort of thing that don't have too much sugar and do have relatively high protein, and those are probably not a bad bet. And then so if you're driving, then make probably more stops than you want to make. Give them a little bit of time to get some exercise besides just going to the bathroom, and keep the snacks in the low sugar range, and have some things on board that'll help them with entertaining themselves. Now, if you're flying, that's a whole other thing, because you've got this, not so much the time in the plane, but the time you're spending in the airport waiting for the plane. Like where we live, almost any place we go, we have to go through a hub. Usually it's Atlanta or Charlotte to get any place further west, anyway. There's no guarantee how long you'll be waiting around, Could be an hour and a half, could be a couple hours, who knows. Well, hello there. Vanessa, is it? Hi. thanks for watching. Anyway, so you're going to have all that time in the airport. And the thing you probably don't want to do is just let them go crazy in the airport. Just let them run around and yell and scream and all that sort of thing. Take them for a walk. Let them ride the glide path or whatever, but don't just let them, because they can jack themselves up. They can get all hyper and super excited and yelling and laughing at the top of their voices and all that sort of thing. You really want to get them some exercise. Get that that does some good things for their brain, and they're put in the mood and keeps them from being bored, but they don't get hyper excited, and that's one of the things you want to watch out for in an airport. Is there are tons of people, there's tons of stimulation, so taking a walk, exploring the airport a little bit, fine. That will, but you can't just sit there and let them run loose. It's not fair to your kiddo, but it's also not fair to the other passengers who are probably not going to be real amused. So that's about the only real caution about air travel. I mean, once you get on the plane, the problem is they pretty much got to sit for a while. There'd be probably more frequent than usual trips to the bathroom, but you don't want to. Or at least I'm not brave enough to challenge them on that suit. If they say they need to go, we're going. And I may, that gives them a chance to walk up and down the aisles and that sort of thing. But you do want to go with them, okay? So airplanes, if they have the seat back entertainment or what they're calling headrest video players, hey, let your kiddo watch that. If not, you're on your own as to, if they have an iPad or some kind of, your kid has some kind of tech toy. They all do nowadays, and let them use that to keep themselves entertained. And there's always looking out the window and watching the clouds and saying, "Look, we're right on top of Kansas," or whatever. Nothing against Kansas, of course. Okay, so trains and buses are highly variable. I would guess some bus stations are pretty nice. Some train stations are pretty nice. Some are not. Some are pretty grungy and so on. I have been in Europe a lot, and my God, their trains and buses are cleaner and better maintained than our airplanes a lot of times, and so that's an easy, fun sort of alternative. In the United States, not as much, but if you have to go that way, same deal. You have to have something to keep them occupied, something for them to eat, and that's about it. It's hard to get them any real exercise, but maybe on if you're changing trains or changing buses, there'd be an option there, but that's not what you can count on. So, like I said, recognize your child's strengths and his or her weaknesses, and use their strengths, use their interests to keep them entertained and a little bit distracted while you're traveling. Make sure you get them enough exercise, and make sure you've got some kind of relatively high protein sort of snacks, and you will get to Grandma's house reasonably intact. Okay, well, that's it for today. I'm Dr. Terry James Gingras, and this is Dr. G's ADHD Chat, and we're in the business of making the world safe for ADHDers, because remember, normal people don't change the world. And your child might be the person who changes the world for all of us. So cherish it and appreciate their talents and abilities. Okay, we will, and I am at I'm at terrygingrassphd.com. If you want to leave any comments or down below. Okay. Catch you next week. Bye.